Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and we are now at T-minus 1 week to go until Starfield blasts off into early access, and I can't believe I'm finally getting to say that fact. Of course, all the big Starfield news is laser focused in on Gamescom. I've reviewed over all the major interviews for you, both live and print, and there's a lot to be gained here. Pete Hines, Todd Howard, and Phil Spencer all gave interviews, and we've also got some interesting reporting coming out on what Starfield could mean for Xbox. Plus, we got our first look at a mainline game reporting site's thoughts and impressions after getting to see the game in action during the theater presentation, so stay tuned for that one. Your support for my Starfield uploads has been out of sight, and I greatly appreciate it. In case you haven't yet done so, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. As per usual, I've included chapters for easy viewing, so sit back and buckle up, because here we go. Kicking this one off is an article posted in gamesindustry.biz titled, "Starfield is the starting gun for first-party Xbox games. This is the beginning of something that's going to be really special," Xbox CMO says. Now, it's no secret that Xbox has suffered from a series of setbacks and less than stellar first-party launches, Redfall being the most recent, but according to Jarrett West, Chief Marketing Officer at Xbox, this is, in my mind, the doorway, almost like a starting gun to what I think is going to be a multi-year relay race of first-party titles. West continues on. I was sitting there watching the same Starfield presentation you were this morning, and I was like, this is really the start of something that's going to then lead to Forza. Then in 2024, as we got to Hellblade, and we think about Towerborn, which is on the show floor, we think about Avowed, and we've got stories we haven't told yet as well that are going to unfurl in 2024 and 2025. Now, personally, I'm a bit more practical here, and definitely an actions speak louder than words realist. And the last 18 months for Xbox first-party titles has been a barren wasteland as the company struggled for consistency. Can Starfield act as this catalyst to get Xbox back into the winners column? Can it be, as West describes it, as the starting gun for this relay pass that's going to take place over the next couple of years? This would be a great topic for the comment section. Sound off in the comments about this one. Next up is Pete Hines, who actually gave us some more details and particulars when it comes to Starfield during a live Gamescom interview, explaining that his team can't help feeling a bit helpless at this point. They're all so excited and waiting. The game has shipped. There is no emergency brake that can be pulled at this point, and they're just going to have to sit back confident in their product and wait for the early reviews to start coming in. Hines was noticeably excited when talking about Starfield and explained that he's already told his team to kind of take it all in and savor the moment. A game like this doesn't come around often, further amplified by strong support by Xbox. The booth, the merch, like those console wraps, headphones, and controllers, it's all building up to the moment it launches. Hines also dove into a bit of his personal time at Bethesda and Starfield, revealing that he is currently 150 to 160 hours into his personal playthrough, and he's not even close to finishing up the game or experiencing everything, which is to be expected from a Bethesda game, as the Fallout series and Elder Scrolls boast huge player time spent engagement ratios, and from the sound of it, Hines expects the very same out of Starfield. Hines went on to explain that Starfield is actually a bunch of games rolled into one, and since it offers so much to gamers, he loves hearing other viewpoints of people that have put in 40 to 60 hours, and they all just seem to gush about how big this game is. Which creates a whole new set of problems, as the team kind of struggled with how they were to go about conveying the message of Starfield to someone sitting on the outside. You see, it's why they created the Starfield Direct presentation. And by the way, why it was so long. It took that much time to explain Starfield in a digestible format. And I wrote that single word down from his interview, digestible. How do you take something on this scale and this packed with details and then shrink it down into an easy to understand presentation? A question that the Starfield Direct presentation answered so competently. Now, Hines started dropping little reminders and hints as to what to look for in the game as he went out of his way to remind us to not skimp on our side activities. They may not look like real quests, but they are rich and they take us to some amazing locations. One item that we sometimes sleep on is the fact that Starfield will feature procedurally generated areas. For instance, your Mars will look different from another player's. So you just can't say, hey, head on over to this planet or moon at this specific location and you're going to be able to loot this powerful item, because it's all random. Oh, and by the way, Hines is the Bethesda team member that said that we can land anywhere on a planet and explore the entire planet, also specifically mentioning both space stations and derelict ships during his live interview. Now, space stations have been seen in the previous trailers, but derelict ships is one that I don't think has been discussed. Will they contain unique loot items? How about boss encounters? Will we be able to loot these ships and even add them to our own fleet? Let me know in the comment section where you fall on this one. But Hines wasn't the only one making statements and granting interviews at Gamescom. Todd Howard confirmed that the theater experience shows you how Starfield starts, the character creation tool, and a bit more after that, finishing with the more you put into Starfield, the more it gives back. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, had a bit more to say on the title, echoing the sentiments that the anticipation for Starfield is just crazy. Whereas a lot of new IP starts small and grows and builds, Starfield has just started at the top, and it's great to see. Spencer also touched on the fact that review copies have gone out 2 weeks early, which is more time than most reviewers are given, but considering the size and scope of the game, it was needed to get a decent idea of what the game offers. Spencer then spoke on many other titles at the Xbox booth, which by the way is 50,000 square feet for this year's Gamescom, but he returned to explain that he's been playing Starfield on his work PC and then on his console at home, carrying his save over with him using the Play Anywhere, Anytime functionality. Overall, a lot of praise and anticipation from the studio and publisher. I mean, that's to be expected, but what about an outsider? What would they think about seeing the game for the first time? Well, according to this recent article by Games Radar, they were in attendance as, quote, Bethesda showed off an abridged version of Starfield's opening stretch on the Gamescom show floor, and it blew them away, even going so far as to use the expression starstruck. Led by Todd Howard himself, the demo shows off our first steps through an Argos Extractions mining outpost to character customization to exploring the endless expanse of space. And this is the first mainline gaming news outlet to get this close to gameplay since Ryan McCaffrey got in an hour with Howard prior to an IGN QA session back in mid-June. Games Radar said the game looked incredibly impressive and shows a marked improvement on the excellent 60-minute demo from back in the summer, meaning the Starfield Direct. Facial animations look sharper and more defined, the environments look more vibrant, and combat looks really damn capable. Games Radar was surprised by the pacing of the game. From the initial mine scene, which acts a bit like a tutorial, you find this mysterious artifact, have a massive vision of the galaxy, and immediately begin embracing the creative freedom of true science fiction. The demo then turned to character customization, which on a quick side note, I'm never that much into. I know some of you out there can spend 5 straight hours creating a custom image of yourself. I just find something that works for me, maybe 10 minutes tops, and away I go. Continuing on, and it was noted about the responsiveness of Starfield to your presence. In this case, the character takes a sandwich from an NPC and they begin complaining about it, and it kind of speaks to the sort of immersive world building Bethesda has always been so fantastic at. I really like this next point in the article because it again speaks to that level of immersion. Quote, I also love that you have to manually put on your space helmet before stepping out in the airlock, and the first look at the planet's surface is stunning, a distraction that's difficult to ignore even as the Crimson Fleet shows up for your first firefight. Okay, so a couple of quick thoughts here. First, I wonder what happens if we do step out onto a planet without atmosphere, not wearing our helmets. I mean, are we looking at Arnold eye-popping like action and Total Recall? And second is that Starfield seems to thrust you into full-on combat very early out in your playthroughs, possibly as a tutorial, or maybe just to crank up the pacing of the game, but either way, it does sound very interesting to me. And finally, this ending portion from Games Radar. Lots of enemies, weighted and heavy first-person shooter action, a remarkable step up from the floaty firing and haphazard melee seen in Skyrim and Fallout 4, at least from this look from a distance, which to me all sounds glorious. I know many potential players out there were worried about combat, how snappy would it be, what kind of pacing would we be looking at, and this all sounds like it is connective, fast-paced, and responsive. Continuing on, enemies are fast and reactive, working cleverly within the environment as ships fly overhead and tankers explode, and from there, just out into space, out you go. Welcome to the entire galaxy. Hope you don't lose your head. And to me, this last bit here is just packed with details, reactive and clever AI. So they could be taking cover and using flanking routes. I mean, that's a far cry from previous BGS titles where enemies would just sit there and let you plunk arrows into their domes. And how about that last bit where it just flings you out into space, almost like, okay, tutorial over, go get them. What an exhilarating moment that must be to hit that first journey into space. I wish there was some live footage to accompany this article, but from what I'm reading, Starfield is sounding polished and ready to deliver an epic space adventure. Okay, so lots of news, interviews, thoughts, and comments in this one. I mean, how is Starfield sounding after everything we just got out of Gamescom? Sound off in the comments section below. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description. Shout out to the now over 141,000 of you that have taken the leap and hit subscribe. And a special thanks goes out to my patrons and to those of you firing over those awesome YouTube super chats. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.